Hello and welcome back. If you remember from the last session, I said that we're going to talk about database integrity. The reason I'm stressing on this is because this is a very important task of database administrators. You as a DBA is required to run a dvcc check against your databases in order to make sure your databases are healthy, there is no corruption going on, either at logical or physical level. You cannot tell if a database is corrupted or healthy just by looking into that. For example, if you look to the left side of my screen, right here, probably you may not be able to tell which one of these databases is actually corrupted, which one of them is not. But again, there might be some corruption going on in there. So the one way we can find out about that is to run a dbcc check and check the errors if there are any, and then go and fix that errors. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead today talk about some of the DVCCs that might be very helpful for us in order for checking the databases. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to go ahead and introduce a DVCC, and then I'm going to run them with some parameters. I'm going to go corrupt the database, and then I'm going to come back and fix that database. So first thing, let me make a connection to the database DCM. And indeed it requires a reconnection, so I'm on database DCM. Go ahead and select the databases. All right, so if you look in here, what I'm looking at the numbers of the rows in here is, if you look around here, I have about 290 rows. So if you're not too sure, it's right there. So I got about 290 rows. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to go corrupt the page file and coming back. So just pretending that the page file was corrupted during a normal business hours, or was something bad going on and the page got corrupted. So we're going to stimulate that. And for that reason, let me go ahead and corrupt a page or two. Then I come back and we run this same basic select statement against this database again, and we will see what would be the reason. So I did corrupt a page or two within the database. Now, if you look in here, what we had, the number was about 290 rows, right? We got about 290 rows, and let's run again. Let's run this again and see how many rows we can get this time. Well, it's going there and then it's telling me, hey, there's a corruption going on, and actually there is no rows coming up. So keep that in mind. First, we had 290 rows, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and apply a fix and see how many rows are returned, how many actually data we can recover from the corruption. So the very important thing in here is, as you can see, I have a lot of DBCCs in here, but the granddaddy of all is dvcc check db, because this covers whatever this 4 up there is actually covering. So this goes to the extent and checks every single bit, making sure there is no physical or logical damage to our databases. However, once I do the fixes and come back, then I'm going to introduce these 4 for you, just in case if you need it. I don't know when, but sometimes you may need it. I will give you an introduction to them. So the dvcc check, now if I run them against this DCM database right now, it probably returns some errors. As you can see, it is returning a lot of information. And somehow in the middle or at the end of this, messages, I'm seeing some red text. These red text are actually errors. So this is the same error that I caused it, and it tells me that there is a page or two is actually it says a page is corrupted and there is IO corruption going on within your database. So and finally, if you're running some parameters to fix this, it gives you some recommendations, and it's also give you that recommendation right here. It says go ahead and run a repair allow data loss against your database in order to fix that corruption. Okay, we're going to do this, and also there's another parameter that probably sometimes coming along very handy, but not often. So let's go ahead and introduce to some of these parameters that we have in here. So again, I have a dvcc check right there. Now, if you look in here, there's a lot of information being thrown at me. I don't like them. I don't want to see all of these informations at this time. Let's say you're under pressure. You have loss of stress to fix the database. So what you're going to do in here is you're going to suppress all these extra information. Just you need whatever is the result, or if there is any error, you want to look at that error. So let me go ahead and run this. So at this time, you see that message is very short. It is less than a half page, few lines. So it also tells you about the same error, also provides you the same recommendation how to fix this DCM database. So what I say is go ahead and run a repair allow data loss. Like I mentioned before, I'm not interested to run that first, and there's a reason for that. I keep this as my last resort. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to run this. It is a little bit weaker option for dvcc checkdb. However, sometimes it works to fix those pages, but not often. So let's go ahead and run this and see what will be the result set. So the way you're going to do this, changing any configuration to your database, is either logical or physical. You're going to put the database into a single user mode. Go ahead and do this, and you're going to run them and keep that in single user mode. Refresh, and it should coming soon as a single user mode. Now I'm going to bring the changes. I'm going to go ahead, run dbcc check, tell him go ahead, check the logical and physical structure of my database. If you see any pages, any objects being corrupted, go ahead and fix that by repair rebuild. Try to rebuild it. Do not delete anything. Try to rebuild it. And what do you want? What I want to rebuild it, this DCM database. So the DCM in here reflects to my database DCM. Your database name might be here, whatever would that be. But in my case, my database is DCM, so I put it in there. So I run this, and let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so it was very quick. However, I got a bypass. So it says I see the error, but I'm not able to fix it. So in this case, go ahead and run repair allow data loss. Well, okay, I'm gonna listen to them, and let's go ahead and run it. So the last step in here, after you put them in single user mode, you bring the changes, and then you have to put them back in multi-user mode, which I do. And if I click it back in here, it should come back in multi-user mode, so now many users can use them. So for this option, repair allow data loss, for CheckDB, what I'm going to do in here is the same procedure as I did in here. The only difference is this time I'm going to run them all together, and it takes some time, but then it comes with a different message. It says, well, the error has been repaired. However, there might some data loss has happened. Okay, let's go ahead and check our database again. If you remember, we had 290 rows. This time I'm going to run them again and see how many rows I get. Well, at this time I'm getting 247 rows. So the difference between 290 and 247 rows is, there are some rows. Those rows probably may contain some of the sensitive data, and we are now don't have them. So that is why you are in a problem, and you don't want to be in that situation. So the best approach to fix corruption, that is recommended by Microsoft, and that's also what I do. I'm trying to go ahead and run them, restore them actually from a good backup. So the way we're going to work on that is we want to make sure we have a dvcc check db a scheduled job here before we are taking a full backup. So if this dvcc check db returns no error, then go ahead and take a full backup. And then we are assured that we do have a good backup and that we can restore that backup in case a corruption happened. And make sure you also put an alert in place for your dvcc check db. If it returns any error, you should be prompted and you should address them immediately. And other than that, pretty much the best recommendation, like I mentioned, it would be your restore the database from a backup. So it's also mentioned, I mentioned it up in here, Microsoft recommends to recover the database from a good backup in order to not lose some of the data. So you see the difference of 290, 247 rows is because of the repair allow data loss operation right here. Actually, during that operation, I lost some of the pages. And however, it brings up the table. I don't see any error. I can query against it, but I lost some data. So let's go ahead. I do have a good backup. Let me run them and restore them. Actually, I think I have them right there. The only thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to change my connection from this database to another database. And I'm going to go ahead and make another connection to the server. So this query pan should have connection to this server right now. This is what I just did. So I'm going to run this to restore the database. And go ahead back here and run the same selected statement that we had at the beginning of the video. You're going to run them against the database and see how many rows it is returning this time. And as you can see in here, there is about 290 rows. It's no longer 240 rows. So we are fully recovered from a backup file. So, and that is the recommended, procedure that whenever you have a corruption, you should recover your database by restoring from a good backup. There are other options that we also have in here with dvcc. The first one in here is the dvcc check catalog. This actually checks the integrity of your metadata of your database. So it makes sure that structure-wise your database is okay. There is no problem with it. And of course, you can use the same parameters as I used against dvcc check db with all of these. This one is actually going to check the table. You have to provide the table name. This makes sure your table views and verifies data pages are okay. There is no problem with that. If I run them, probably you will get some messages in here. And this look is a little bit different in here than the others. This actually goes and checks and the disk space where your MDF and LDF files are located. So basically it checks, verifies the integrity of database allocation structure, which means wherever you have MDF and LDF files, and it's going to go check that physical structure of a database, a disk space. If you're getting some error while running this, make sure you contact your network team in order to get some healthy disk space. Then go ahead and migrate your MDF and LDF files to that good disk space. If you don't know how to migrate MDF LDF files, please check the channel. There is a good video on that one as well. So the other one, this is check file group, is just making sure the integrity of your file group. As you know, your database contains some file groups. So I guess I have only one file group, and that's a primary. So for you, it might be more, maybe less. So anyways, it's going to check the integrity of the file groups, make sure the object within that file group is healthy. And again, you can run the same parameter as I run them with check db at the beginning of the video. So I guess that is it for this session. If you have any questions, please put them in a comment. I will reply as soon as I can. So what we did in here is we introduced some of the dvccs. We ran them with some parameters. Also, we cropped the database and then we recovered, and there was some details. And the good one was always make sure you run a dvcc, put an alert in place, and then take a backup and restore that backup in case your database is getting corrupted. And I guess that's it, and hope you enjoyed this video.